Panjshir was the last bastion of the resistance, but the lions of Panjshir were let down by the familiar backstabber in this region, which is, as always, Pakistan. It's quite clear that now Pakistan is working not even behind the scenes, but quite apparently in order to install a puppet government. Days after Pakistan's ISI chief landed in Kabul, its effects were clear. After intense fighting over the weekend, the Taliban claimed to have taken over the Panjshir Valley. While that claim was disputed by the resistance, what they did confirm is that two of their senior leaders were in fact killed in that onslaught. Fahim Dashti, the front spokesperson, and General Abdul Wadud Zara, nephew of Panjshir resistance leader Ahmad Masood, were confirmed killed. There were also claims of repeated helicopter attacks on the house of acting President Amrullah Saleh. So what exactly is Pakistan backing and scripting? Is this some friendly neighborhood nudge to a fledgling democracy? Anything but. Backed by Pakistan and at their behest, the Taliban have let loose terror and torture. Not only were political opponents singled out and eliminated in Panjshir Valley and otherwise, but even civilians were not spared. A lady police officer who was pregnant was killed in Ghor province. Women who marched demanding equal rights for themselves were attacked and left bleeding. But it's all following a script. It's all part of a plan. Or as ISI chief Faiz Hameed said, on the day that he landed, it will all be fine. Maybe not for the people of Afghanistan, but definitely for Pakistan's mullah military nexus.
We are working for peace and stability in Afghanistan. Don't worry, everything will be okay.
मुख्तलिफ अंदाज से मुल्जिम ठहराती है अफगानिस्तान की आज़ादी में पाकिस्तान को भी, हालांकि ये इल्ज़ाम नहीं है ना, ये कहती है कि तुम लोग तो इतने अक्लमंद थे कि तुमने ये कर दिया, इसको आप क्रेडिट लें.
من شکیب نصیری هستم از تایمز ناو. چند پرسش داشتم، از جمله که آقای هیبت الله آخوندزاده کجا است؟ آیا حیات است یا خیر؟ در کنار از این کشورهای اروپایی و انگلیس اعلام کردند که ما حکومت طالبان را به رسمیت نمی‌شناسیم. واکنش شما و آمدن یکی از افراد نزدیک القاعده به نام امین الحق در ولایت ننگرهار، این چگونه تاثیرات را میتونه در روابط حکومت آینده که شما اعلام میکنید با کشورهای جهان داشته باشه؟
تشکر. اول باید بگم که امیرالمؤمنین شیخ مبارک آخوندزاده صاحب حیات هستند. انشاءالله عنقریب ما و شما را مشاهده خواهد کردیم از طریق‌هایی که لازم است و اطمینان میدیم که حیات است و سر کار خود هستند، کنترل تمام وضعیت به دست دارند. و مسئله دوم که موضوع رسمیت شناختن است. ما به تمام دنیا اعلام میکنیم که افغانستان حق داره که با رسمیت شناخته شود حکومتش و نظام که اینجا با وجود نیست، چون این حق افغان‌ها است و اگر آنها کدام تشویشی داشته باشند، ملاحظاتی داشته باشند در مورد افغانستان یا اینجا در مورد نظام، از طریق دیپلماتیک و سفارتخانه‌های خود آسان‌تر میتوانند رو حل کنند و با راه دیگر نروند. خواهش ما است که همه مملکت‌ها باید با ما دست دوستی دراز بکنند از طریق دیپلماتیک و موضوعات سفارتخانه‌های خود را حل بسازند، سفارتخانه‌های خود را فعال بسازند و آغاز فعالیت بکنند. ما تماس خوب با تمام دنیا می‌خواهیم، از جمله لندن و اسرائیل.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, we have Ahmad Shah Muhibi, former US counterterrorism advisor and founder of Rise to Peace, Abdul Samad Yaqoob, he's the spokesperson of the party in power in Pakistan, the Tehreek-e-Insaf Pakistan. Major General Sanjay Meston will be joining us in a bit, as will Omar Altaf. But Ahmad Shah Muhibi, I want to start by asking you, because every voice from Pakistan has through the day rubbished claims that the country was involved in what's happening in Afghanistan. What makes you so sure that the Taliban has Pakistan backing, especially their human rights violations?
Well, the Pakistan involvement and interference in Afghanistan days goes back to 1970s and 80s, 90s, and right now. I'm talking about the reports I got from the ground. The governor of Panjshir, he mentioned, and so many other Afghan special forces that recorded the videos of drones attacking Panjshir Valley. We saw the ISI chief who came to Kabul. Pakistan has not only been involved with the Taliban, but they helped create the Taliban in 1994. The whole Wahhabism movement from Saudi Arabia, the Muslim Brotherhood, started everything in Pakistan. And it's a fact, it's part of history, and there's not a blame game theory here. Well, Pakistan had its own advancement in Afghanistan, and do you want to have a Kabul that's friendly towards Islamabad? And what they're doing right now, I mean, a lot of resistance forces have been telling me that the drones are being controlled by the Pakistani Air Force, and so let's see if that's going to be confirmed or not. But one thing we know for a fact is that the Pakistan has interest, and they have been supporting the Taliban. That's why President Trump suspended aid when he, in 2016, 2017, started the Southeast strategy, asked the Taliban to stop the safe haven of terrorism. Osama bin Laden was killed in Abbottabad. So there's a lot of history and there's a lot of facts that goes with Pakistan and their interest in the Taliban. So it's not
in fact, Mr. Yaqub, today you had the Pakistani president himself saying that we have helped in the azadi of the Afghans and we must take credit for it. Why are you hesitating when your country's president is eager to take credit for helping the Taliban usurp power?
This is what I have been consistently saying. I mean, we never denied that, yes, back in, as my American friend mentioned, that, yes, we have that time supported Taliban when there was a civil war. And it's not the first time that Americans cannot deny their favorites in...
So we're not talking about the civil war. We're talking about right now. We're talking about 2021. In 2021, the Taliban have overthrown a government. This is not about one faction or one terror group taking out another terror group. There are civilians being killed by the Taliban right now. Are you backing that?
The Ashraf Ghani regime was thrown out by the people of Afghanistan. It was a popular uprising which the people of Afghanistan supported these Taliban when they were uprising.
It was a popular uprising. It was definitely popular with you. Do you buy that? Do you buy that, Emacha Muibi, that this was a popular uprising?
No, let's not get confused. Afghans did not want the Taliban. They still did not want the Taliban. Taliban took over because the United States left, the international community left, and the Afghan president, he fled the country. We're talking about 38 million Afghans. They did not want Taliban. They committed some of the horrific crimes in the human history in Afghanistan. The bombing, beheading, raping children. We're talking about an insurgency group in Afghanistan. So let's not get confused about that one. So that the Afghans did not want the Taliban.
So there is no popular uprising, Mr. Yaqub. Now answer.
So can you deny, can this panelist from America deny the fact that even when there was an Ashraf Ghani regime, majority of the rural areas were ruled by a Taliban? They had already captured that. Those majority of the 50% of the Afghanistan was under the rule of Taliban. Is it the fact or not?
Yes, absolutely. The Taliban controlled over 65% of Afghanistan, and that's not the question here. The question is, the Taliban took over Afghanistan by killing innocent people by force. What Afghans want, the majority did not want the Taliban. Let's not get confused. That's the true in fact. That's why there is uprising. That's why the resistance forces in Afghanistan. We're not talking about only Tajiks. We're talking about all different ethnicities and groups. The Taliban have been supported by so many other countries in the world. They made a deal. They got their prisoners out. And they said, we're not going to kill innocent people, reaction of violence. They did not commit. They made promises, but in the actions, they just literally start killing and left and right.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it is coincidental that you've had the Pakistan ISI chief, Emacha Muibi, landing in Afghanistan just as the crackdown in Panjshir begins? Is that a coincidence, or was this all to script?
It's not a coincidence. Let's look at the history, the political trajectory of Afghanistan. There is a book called the Beard Trap by Colonel Muhammad Yusuf, who was in charge of the Afghanistan office in ISI. He talks about the Pakistan ISI role in supporting Afghan Mujahideen back in 1980s and 70s right now. So ISI has been leading the war in Afghanistan for so many years, and it has their own national interest. I've always said that stability in Afghanistan, peace in Afghanistan is peace in Pakistan, peace in India, peace in the world. So I think right now, that is not a coincidence. The Taliban are attacking, and I'm going to say this over and over. If they did not form an inclusive government, if they did not listen to the voice of resistance and every ethnic of Afghanistan, we're going to see a disaster. We're going to see catastrophe and a massacre of a lot of Afghans. It's not a coincidence. It's
so
just
then, Omar
planned.
Altaf, why are you scripting this kind of disaster? People from Afghanistan think that the kind of chaos that the ISI and the Pakistani government is encouraging from behind the scenes is going to lead to the downfall of the entire region. Why do it then?
I don't share your perception. This is completely false. Like, Pakistan has no role in Afghanistan being ruled by Taliban. It's the Afghan government which capitulated, the Afghan army which failed to defend its country, which has caused Taliban to take over. So where does Pakistan's role come in all of this?
Here is the role of Pakistan. Iranian foreign minister, not any Afghan, not an Indian, but the Iranian foreign minister has said that the role of foreign countries in brutalities in Afghanistan is going to be investigated. That's what Iran is saying, Omar Altaf. You have the governor of Panjshir saying that it is Pakistan which is responsible for pounding the valley over the last 48 hours. You have a former member of parliament of Afghanistan who is saying this is Pakistani forces who are giving air support to the Taliban militia. That is where Pakistan's role comes in.
Now let me respond. I think this role, the role you are pointing out, hasn't been mentioned by the US, which was occupying Afghanistan for so long, nor the NATO. It's only India and its allies who are pointing fingers at Pakistan.
Sir, I just quoted to you the Iranian foreign minister. I quoted to you Afghan nationals, the governor of Panjshir, and a former member of parliament. Where does India come into this? And just by the way, do you think that everything that an American is saying is gospel? Then in that case, General McMaster says the same thing about you, about Pakistan.
No, it's not gospel. It's not gospel. I think I was talking about the American military presence was Pakistan hoodwinking them, and Iranian foreign minister hasn't mentioned any country. What are you talking about?
Which country do you think he is referring to when he says the role of a foreign country is going to be investigated? Cambodia.
Who is going to investigate? Who is going to investigate it? Who? Which body? Iran has welcomed Taliban. Iran has established links with Taliban. They are holding talks with Taliban, and so does India and every other country. Indian government has no issues with Taliban. Let me quote to you what Lieutenant General
McMaster, who was the former NSA in the United States, by the way, has said. Pakistan should be treated as a pariah state because of its constant backing to jihadi elements now in Afghanistan. Since apparently you think it's only India which is whining and its allies, and what the Afghans say doesn't matter, what Iran says doesn't matter, this is what an American former NSA is saying.
Tell me what the current US Secretary of State or the current US President is saying. Don't talk about former officials. Like our former officials have said a lot, US foreign officials have said a lot. Should I bring what President Carter used to say about Indira Gandhi? But these things have no context.
Sir, if we go to President Carter, then we'll have to start talking about General Zia also, but let's just stay away from that. Yes, General Sanjay Meston, Pakistan says no names have been taken by anyone other than India.
Yeah. See, they can keep stating that no names have been taken. Their heart and conscience knows that what is the Pakistan involvement in every manner. And see, the fact of the matter is, why Pakistan is getting involved, they are just getting involved for one basic reason is they know their weakness. Their Achilles heel is the Durrand Line. The day the Pashtuns unite on both sides of the international border of so-called Durrand Line, I think the whole trend will change. The Pashtuns will look for a greater Pashtunistan, the way Daud Khan was looking way back in 74, etc. And he had announced, and that is the time Mr. Bhutto and then General Ziaul Haq, you know, stage managed this coup and everything, and all these problems started arising then. And there are a lot of books.
And happened in the last 3 weeks. India has lost its mind over the last 3 weeks. Now you are clutching at the straw.
No.
Nothing
I have to give the background.
Very clearly, Nothing of that sort has been is going to happen.
Background is essential.
Mr. Altaf, please let's not heckle each other. Nobody has lost their mind.
Line is the main
but
issue.
you know, heckling each other is not going to help either. Let General Meston finish what he is saying. People are losing lives. Let's not be concerned about people losing their minds. Yes, so, General Meston.
Yeah, so please allow me to have my way. It is the Durrand Line is the issue, and therefore Pakistan has always remained in a state of deniability. They have made the Pashtuns fight amongst each self by creating large number of groups, and they will continue to do so. And this is where their strategy has been.
But General Meston, it all boils down to
Pakistan
this. Pakistan is always going to say, what's your proof?
Yeah.
What's your proof? This is your hypothesis. You are basing your assumptions on history of what happened with the Soviets, etc. What's your proof?
No, they can keep talking about proof. I am not telling you, even when this operation started against the ANSF, you know, the Pakistani soldiers, 12 of them were captured in Kunduz. Their I-cards, everything were displayed. Even today in the resistance movement, the SSG is now started leading the attack. Since the day before yesterday, they had heavy casualties. Their I-cards, etc. have been displayed. What proof are they looking every time? They should not keep looking for proof. Their people know. The common man of Pakistan knows. I have met so many Pakistan in Afghanistan who used to be there. They used to always say that we are the country today, we have spoiled the whole world and we regret partition. The young generation of Pakistan is regretting partition, and they now talk about how the Pakistan army and ISI is taking their country for a ride. It is a very good thing which the Pakistan young generation has started realizing, and it is going to hit them one day very, very badly. In fact, a lot of their people are not started talking quite openly. You know, certain hardliners can keep talking that the proof. What proof are they looking?
Okay, in fact, Omar Altaf, since you asked for proof, there was this gentleman on Pakistani News TV who very proudly says that Afghanistan ka liberation has happened because of my son's shahadat. He is purportedly the father of a Pakistani soldier, holds up his picture, identifies his son and says that my son gave shahadat in Afghanistan. Listen to it.
का नाम भी फैज है, जो आज वहाँ जर्नैल गया उसका नाम भी फैज है, और मैं भी चकवाल से हूँ, मेरा बेटा भी चकवाल से है, वो भी चकवाल गया। आज देख लें आज कितना मेरा दिल खुश है कि मेरा बेटा अफगानिस्तान जो जगह जहाँ से हमें मारा जा रहा था वहाँ पे जाके मजे से चाय पी रहा है। उसने बताया मुझे कि अंकल फिक्र न करो, हमने आपके बेटे को दुश्मनों को मजबूत कर दिया और हम यहाँ पे पहुँच गए। आज जो फतह है वो मेरे बेटे की शहादत की फतह हुई है। ये जो फतह है ये हमारी उन शहीदों की फतह है, हमारे खून की फतह है, शहदा की फैमिलियों की फतह है।
Yes, Omar Altaf, what's a Pakistani soldier doing giving shahadat and giving freedom to Afghanistan?
I think what he is rejoicing is that RAW has been kicked out of Afghanistan. This is what he considers to be a victory for Pakistan. He is happy over the fact that India and its consulates have been shut
Hameed Afghanistan में है, मेरा बेटा भी फैज हमीद ही था और उसने वहां पे शहादत दी है, अफगानिस्तान को लिबरेट किया है. I do not think he's saying anything about RAW unless of course sir you are a special, your speciality is somehow reading between people's lines.
Please let me respond. Why you ask a question and then start interrupting? Let me complete and then you can pose a counter question. What the fact of the matter is that India has been using Afghan territory for carrying out terrorist activities in Pakistan.
We are being ridiculous. The man is saying in so many words, my son gave shahadat in Afghanistan. He is a Pakistani man who is saying my son gave shahadat in Afghanistan. Where does India come into all of this?
The victory, Pakistan's strategic victory in this whole endeavor has been that India's consulates and India's RAW's terror activities have been shut down in Afghanistan. That's what we celebrate in Pakistan. That's a strategic victory. We have got nothing to do with Taliban.
You're at least accepting that Pakistani soldiers are in Afghanistan as we speak.
I don't think so. This video is I don't think so. This video is verified, or is it?
So you are basically, after reading into the lines and declaring that he is rejoicing at the defeat of RAW, now you have decided to question its authenticity. After interpreting
No, India thinks this is Pakistan's strategic victory.
Sir,
which
he
I
was
agree
on
with. This
Pakistani
is
TV.
Pakistan's strategic.
He was on your TV channel, gloating about how his son is giving shahadat.
Okay, that's fine. Every Pakistani considers it to be a victory because India's consulates which were carrying out terror activities have been shut down. It's a simple fact.
All right. Maybe, we just have different interpretations of how to understand Urdu. But since you have interpreted this man, now let's listen to the Pakistani president who is talking about the azadi of Afghanistan and saying, humko credit lena chahiye. Let's try and see whether we can find an alternative meaning to what he said in an alternative universe. Let's listen to him.
We are working for peace and stability in Afghanistan. Don't worry, everything will be okay.
मुख्तलिफ अंदाज से मुल्जिम ठहराती है अफगानिस्तान की आज़ादी के में पाकिस्तान को भी, हालांकि ये इल्ज़ाम नहीं है ना, ये कहती है कि तुम लोग तो इतने अक्लमंद थे कि तुमने ये कर दिया, इसको आप क्रेडिट लें।
अफगानिस्तान की आज़ादी के लिए आपको क्रेडिट लेना चाहिए। Why are you shying away from it, उमर अल्ताफ? आपके खुद के प्रेसिडेंट बोल रहे हैं।
No, I'm not shying out of it. You are like quoting statements out of context.
Right.
Like, what does that mean? Like, isn't America, did Pakistan hoodwink NATO? Did Pakistan hoodwink America? Or like, only India is the smart guy in the whole world? Everyone else is oblivious to what Pakistan does and what Pakistan's role is.
At least in the near neighborhood, one can say we are smarter than what you are doing in Afghanistan, which is literally, you are cutting your nose to spite your face. I don't necessarily think that that's a very smart thing, but then who am I? We're just not trying to prop up a terror regime. Ahmad Shah Mohibi, you've got people who are actually on the ground. These are statements, these are just things which we have the Pakistani panelists here saying are being taken out of context, it's being misrepresented. But is there any actual evidence of Pakistani presence, boots on the ground, what they are actually doing in Afghanistan today?
According to my resources, yes. According to what I received, yes. And in terms of the Air Force, the Pakistani Air Force, that needs to be confirmed. It's too early. But I want to say something here. Look, let's not get confused. The Pakistani people are great people. They have helped a lot of Afghan refugees throughout the wars. But when it comes to politics, we have to put, we have to come neutral and talk about what is going on. Pakistan has been always engaged in Afghanistan. The ISI and the whole move is in the 1970s with the Soviets in Afghanistan till this day. Nawaz Sharif, Benazir Bhutto, Imran Khan, all of these Pakistan leaders has in some way has supported the Taliban, has said, even the Afghan Mujahideen, let's put, I think going forward, right now we're talking about lives of Afghans in Panjshir Valley. Their lives are in danger, and we have to spread the awareness that we have to stop the war. And whether it's Pakistan, you have to stop the Taliban. The Taliban stop attacking their own Muslims. Look, the whole war of the Taliban have been on foreign occupation against the Americans. Well, they're all out. It's time for the Taliban to give up, and time for the Taliban to let every Afghan identity have a voice. So I think, again, going back to Pakistan, in Afghanistan, look, the border, you're the same Muslim country, they share a lot of different similarity cultures. You cannot combat hate by hate. There has to be confidence built on each side of the country. There are a lot of great Pakistani people who oppose the Pakistani government and a lot of the ISI and a lot of these proxy back channels. So I think going forward, a message of positivity, and at the same time, even from the Pakistani analysts and journalists, it's vital that they could talk about the truth, because, at the end of the day, we're talking about lives of people, not politics. It's not about Pakistan versus Afghanistan, Afghanistan versus Pakistan or India. Let's talk about what is the state, what is it for the people.
Absolutely, but are you going to let better sense prevail, Mr. Yaqub? Because here, you've got people you share cultural linkages with who are dying. The Taliban are killing people who you have cultural linkages with.
Well, I'm very clear on this point. I mean, if Taliban violates human rights for when they form the government, if they will not give the rights to the women, I will at least condemn them. I mean, I will not support.
Well, I don't really think the Taliban has left anyone in any doubt about where they stand vis-a-vis women and their rights, equal rights, etc. Considering that just yesterday, a lady police woman has been shot dead, a pregnant lady. She was shot dead.
you cannot take...
Men and women sit
incident
segregated in colleges. In Kabul, a fairly liberal city.
Okay, that is fine. If they are going to segregate it, you don't... I mean, if the segregation is in Saudi Arabia, that is fine for you. If segregation is in Iran, that is fine for you. If Sharia
No, it's not. No, it's not. But it is not fine for people who are not being treated like this. Women are being told that you can participate in government, but in the lower level jobs. How is that okay, sir? How is the killing of people okay?
Killing is never be justified. I said if they are going to humiliate these human rights, I will condemn them. I will not support them.
Well,
but when it comes to the Sharia law,
if I dare speak on behalf of the Afghan people, your condemnation will be cold comfort. But my final question to you, General Meston, is this. You have these stories emerging every single day. Even as Panjshir was being bombarded, you had the Taliban in meeting with the UN, where they were promised continuing aid. What can we expect then? There is going to be no condemnation. There is going to be, leave alone sanctions. Clearly they are being enabled.
Yeah, to some extent I agree that the talks of course were between the United States and the Taliban. What is surprisingly that there seems to be some tacit understanding between the United States and the Taliban. Now if you just look in the national resistance movement which has been going on, there has been no condemnation of any kind. Atrocities are going around, their supplies have been choked, their electricity has been cut off, their communication has been cut off. What is United States doing? Not even talking about it? That is little strange. No other nation except for India, we are talking about it. Others are quite about it. In fact, only Tajikistan and to some extent Iran has now started talking about it. Russia is not talking about it. China is not talking about it. So therefore some of these nations, especially in the vicinity, that is I would say Russia, yes, and China, perhaps they are going wrong somewhere, because they are feeling that if they appease the Taliban, nothing will happen. It will be other way. They have forgotten that the United States has left, not so easily. They have their influence. They have retained a lot of their people there. People means not their own people, the people whom they have cultivated over a period of time, and including they have got inroads in Taliban.
So the great game seems to have begun all over again. Unfortunately, human lives get lost in the process as so-called empires fight for supremacy and Pakistan tries to get a toehold. We'll see where this goes. Thanks very much, especially Ahmed Shah Muhibi, for having joined us. We hope everyone you know in Afghanistan stays safe. Thanks very much, General Meston, Abdul Samad Yaqoob and Omar Altaf as well. Thanks so much.